Before humanity ever reached for the stars, they had an old phrase, a phrase that was given to them by one of their great admirals of all time, one of the smartest of their own warriors. He stated, "Do not wake the sleeping dragon," or "Be afraid that you may have woken the sleeping dragon." Whichever way this goes, it was carried on as the humans started to reach out beyond their own cradle world and began to reach out into the stars. It wasn't long until they began to run into other species, which mostly welcomed them with open arms. That was, until about 5 decades after they finally settled on their own fourth planet, that the Zanara decided that they would want to take over humanity and turn them into slaves and mine their entire home system as resources. The Zanada decided that they would be the ones to do this, and anyone who aided the humans would become their enemy. The humans were given a chance to surrender peacefully and simply sit back as slaves in relative comfort, as they were simply used by their invading forces and then watch as their system be stripped. It was given as an option, as the only other option they believed possible was to annihilate every single human, destroy their entire species, and then simply roll in and take over the sector. This is not what the invaders wanted, as they simply wished to have this force of workers that numbered in the billions to be able to work for them as slaves. This way, it would enrich their home system. But the humans had a different idea. They, for the first time in much of any of their history, they began to pull together as a species as a whole, throwing away old rivalries and building ships far faster than the invading forces could ever think possible. It was so much so that some thought that humanity was a hive mind, as it seemed as though insects were being launched from the planet, as so many ships were simply launched from the surface or built inside their gigantic space stations. Space stations that should have taken 2 decades to construct were constructed in less than 2 of their years. This was insanity on a level no one believed possible. And due to this, they were able to fight off the Zanata without much issue at all. In fact, they were able to fight them back all the way to the Zanata's full system and then force them into surrender as they pointed all their weapons down towards the Zanata home planet. This forced them to surrender and leave humanity alone. They would force their invaders to stay within their own sector and never once again enter human space or any of their allies. And because of this, humans were immediately catapulted up to the fact that they were able to face off a foe that was several hundred years more advanced. At least they thought they were. The humans turned out to be the sleeping dragon that was simply waiting for a reason to awaken. And after everything was over, humanity simply pulled their forces back and began to retrofit many of their smaller warships into cargo vessels and began to trade once again with the galaxy at large, this time trading with all others except for those who had invaded their territory. And that is where the phrase, "do not wake the sleeping dragon," has morphed into something else. You see, it is very common to see several humans working on any large cargo vessel. The reason being is that they're so much larger than almost any other species in the known galaxy. They are, in fact, the largest. They don't look like they would be strong until you get close and realize that their thin, pale skin, or sometimes not pale, but dark skin, or somewhere in between, was actually just simply hiding very dense musculature and a skeletal system that did not fail pressure at all. No matter how many tests it was always amazing to find out the elasticity of a human or the amount of pressure they could be put under. But this is not where the phrase comes from. Inside the cargo vessels, many places were not suited for humans to sleep. Humans would simply curl up in one area or another, sometimes sprawled out inside the cargo area if there wasn't much cargo being hauled, and they would simply set up crates so they could sleep on top of them, as sleeping on the floor seemed to be only something a few of them would do. But when they sleep, and they do sleep deeply, in many cases, when humans first went out, they were believed to actually be dead, and its medical staff would be summoned into the cargo bay, and immediately the human would burst awake, scaring everyone so much as this large creature would immediately burst its eyes open and sit up, screaming, "What's going on? What the, what?" Eventually, everybody understood this whole idea of putting themselves into a coma every few hours just so they could basically reset themselves, as it was said. However, it was noted that you never simply went up and woke a human if you didn't have to. Because if a human is woken up before at least 7 of their hours has been completed of solid direct sleep, and they have gone into something they call REM sleep, at least for 2 hours, they will not be in a good mood. And in several cases, they have accidentally reached out and smacked several of the species right into the bulkheads, unfortunately killing most. The Zanara found this out the hard way when they realized that humans were so large that the humans could pick them up, as they were told to be about the size of what humans call a football. Most of us don't know why you would have a ball on your foot, but it is whatever. Turns out to be some sort of human sport. However, if you are to wake a human, any human, from its slumber, do yourself a favor and announce yourself from a distance, because if you wake them at the absolute wrong time, you are going to find out why the most common phrase in the known universe is "don't wake the sleeping human."